Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram restored after 6 hours outage as investors count losses. Nigeria looks forward to a more robust economic relationship with Ethiopia. Goods trade surged past pre-pandemic levels as World Trade Organization. And manufactured imports exceed exports by 4.3 trillion naira in second quarter of 2021, says the National Bureau of Statistics. Details of these and more on Business Express on the network service of the NTA. And we're reaching you live from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Leah Katun Babatunde. A very good morning to you, and we'll begin the business of the day by informing you that Nigeria says it looks forward to a more robust economic relationship with Ethiopia. President Muhammadu Buhari stated these at the inauguration of Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed.
Nigeria, like many other countries, is counting on your leadership to unleash the great economy by expanding investment opportunities, deepening relations, and building trust at home and abroad. I assure you that Nigeria will continue to support the unity and territorial integrity of Ethiopia.
Nigeria must continue to improve her business environment to maximize the opportunities in the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA. This position was put forward by promoters of Made in Nigeria goods at the opening of the 16th Abuja International Trade Fair. Musa Abubakar reports.
With focus on showcasing made in Nigerian goods and huge trade potentials, the Abuja International Trade Fair is the next port of call for these businesses from within and outside the Federal Capital Territory. This year's edition focused on taking advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and Abuja Chamber of Commerce and partners are particular about capacitating Nigerian businesses to be well positioned.
Private sector must be ready to capitalize on the readiness of government to deploy all state apparatus in support of Nigeria's participation in the Africa trade.
The agreement has entered into effect or into force on 1st of January this year, 2021. But we are still putting in place certain measures and to make sure that we implement.
AfCFTA has the potential to increase employment opportunities, reduce poverty, and broaden economic inclusion, which will lead to inclusive economic growth.
With more local businesses ready to take the continental stage, the future of the Single Market Initiative looks bright, starting with this exhibition.
Figures obtained from the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) indicate that the value of manufactured goods imported into the country exceeded exports by 4.37 trillion naira in the second quarter of 2021. The NBS stated that the value of manufactured goods trade in the period under review stood at 4.51 trillion naira, representing 37.5% of total trade. Out of these, the export component accounted for 211.67 billion naira, while the import component was valued at 4.3 trillion naira. The products that drove up manufactured products with vessels and other floating structures for breaking up, which was exported to Cameroon in the value worth of 71.9 billion naira. It added that vessels and other floating structures for breaking up were also exported to Spain and Equatorial Guinea in values worth 18.34 billion naira and 6.62 billion naira. The NBS report stated that other products under this group were aluminium alloys on rod exported to Japan in the value worth of 10.85 billion naira and China 3.63 billion naira. Now, for most in the export business, the journey and stressful procedures at the nation's ports is a nightmare they dread. These concerns are now being addressed by the federal government through the Domestic Export Warehouse Program spread across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Diversifying the nation's economy and reducing administrative bottlenecks have been synonymous with the present administration. The African Continental Free Trade Area has thrown up an opportunity for Nigeria to reposition her export sector to take optimum advantage of the agreement. The Domestic Export Warehouse, known as DEW, primarily targets non-oil exports and is domiciled in the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC.
To take care of situations of export from the hinterland. That is to be able to boycott the protocols at the seaport that is causing congestion.
In establishing these warehouses, the NAPC is engaging facilitators from the 6 geopolitical zones.
There the container is living there, MPA is willing to, right? So imagine the multiplier effects in terms of job creation and in terms of wealth creation. You know the number of exporters that we spring up from this area.
Export processes will be decentralized beyond Nigerian Port Authority in Lagos and on air to process export both solid, agricultural or whatever resources.
Policymakers say the DEW will encourage non-oil exporters to be more proactive and create jobs in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's quest to create 100 million jobs in 10 years. Yesterday, the world was put in a sort of disarray when Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram went off in what seemed to be a hack activity. Now, a lot of claims followed that and all platforms got restored after 6 hours, but not without some consequences. Mark Zuckerberg alone lost $7 billion as Facebook shares dropped significantly. Now, to look into these issues and how they will be affecting us, I have joining me Olatunji Igbalajobi. He is the Director Information Security Development of Cybersecurity Experts Association of Nigeria, CSEN. You're welcome, Mr. Olatunji.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great. So just how did this impact our lives? 6 hours.
Well, what happened yesterday, it's also proves to the fact that there is absolutely no system that is rock solid, and it greatly affects the global economy, and this is not even Facebook economy, so to speak. Global economy. Nobody can ascertain the economic, the revenue impact of the Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram outage yesterday, because other corporate organization, individual who rely on this social media blogging application to carry out their business activity can testify to how much of revenue impact that had on their business. So to ascertain the economic impact, I think we can't vividly come to a conclusion that this is the economic and the revenue impact of this particular incident. So basically, I think from Facebook, record has come out that they have about $7 billion revenue impact. But global economy, we can't ascertain the revenue impact of the outage.
So, Do you have any record of what this means for businesses, particularly Nigerian businesses? We have a lot of people, as you've pointed out, transacting on Instagram, on Facebook, in fact, even WhatsApp. There's WhatsApp for business. So how did it affect them? And would you say it's like a scenario of putting all your eggs in one basket?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we call unavailability of service. In security, when security is not available, and it becomes a major challenge. And for entrepreneurs who are just small, medium scale enterprise, this there's a lot who rely on social media, for their business activity. I mean, this is to tell you that the challenge of not having, you are not able to manage, a critical infrastructure, which, you are just leveraging on the infrastructure, you are not the owner, that takes a lot to how SME also have to think about business now, because if this impacts the business, then how then do they want to continue business? For instance, if this continue to persist, because we can't really ascertain, the information has been going on that is around the DNS of Facebook, server returning fail, the BGP, not being able to access it, that is the border gateway protocol, so entrepreneur SME in Nigeria needs to begin to look at there's a need for them to look at other methods of carrying out business, maybe personally having their in their own web page where they can make it more like an e-commerce, where people can have sort of communication with their customers. A lot of people resort to Telegram yesterday, but then, I mean, what if Telegram is also down tomorrow? I mean, how much of this? So basically, it also boils down to looking at having our whole microblogging as a nation that we can really rely on for business purpose in this era.
Some would say this is a sort of pointer to the fact that one man is vested with so much power, especially in the cyberspace. Do you agree with this claim?
Well, I don't really agree because this is an internet, and we have what we call the network of networks. So, I'm quite sure, Facebook owner or Facebook as a company, they are not the only one in the business of microblogging. There are other platforms. We have Twitter. We have Telegram, we have Co. Then because they have been in the business for long year, and they have been able to develop an application that is community driven. So these are part of what have made Facebook to look like the giant in the microblogging business. So I don't believe they hold the power to what is going on in the world or to the internet. It is just leveraging their business structure and they have been able to come a long way and gain that presence.
We've seen some sort of a back and forth, I would call it, between the tech companies and the owners of this. The owners of these tech companies with the lawmakers now, especially in the bigger economies around the world, trying to balance power between governments and, of course, the tech companies. So with what has happened yesterday, what will be the implications of these to the global polity now and the global economy, and how do we guard against a reoccurrence of these that seems to be a sort of hostage for some people?
It still boils down to regulation, the regulation of how, people can actually come up with a microblogging, so to speak, or other, innovation in technology, and how much of power do they have. But I want to believe that there are already, regulation globally, to ensure that microblogging does not impact or infringe on people's fundamental rights as regards to data protection, data management. But in terms of the economic value, trying to look at how to manage, the occurrence of this situation. I mean, well, like I said earlier, there is no system that is rock solid, and we can't. It boils down to whoever is in the business of microblogging to ensure that they have what we call a recovery time objective. To ensure that their system is not perpetually down and cripple other business. So it boils down to managing the infrastructure well and ensuring that they put mitigation control in place to ensure that availability of service is prompt for customers and users.
Talking about data protection and also protecting investment by those whose businesses leverage on the social media. There were also insinuations that a lot of data might have been stolen yesterday during the outage. Now, what will be the implication for countries like Nigeria and a lot of other countries that do not have the size of this technology that we are all plugging into?
I believe, for instance, in our own world, in our own country, we already have a data protection regulation, which is from the NTA, and talking about how much of data can actually, how people need to manage data. So how people can easily manage data, and then for people, it boils down to awareness. Yesterday there are some cyber criminals that are already trying to use other platforms to get users to log into a malicious page. Trying to see to recover your Facebook assets, kindly log into this particular link. So there are some other malicious cyber criminals who try to capitalize on the instances of Facebook outage and other platform, other Facebook platform and WhatsApp and other ones that are down. To use that as a means for social engineering. But I believe from Facebook point of view, there has not been any information that mentioned about data leakage. User data leakage. We have not. Based on the research that we have carried out so far, we have not come across any data exfiltration from the power outage that happened yesterday for Facebook.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Olatunji Igbalajobi, the Director, Information Security Development of CSAN.
Thank you.
Now let's move to Surviving COVID-19 series, and of course the package today is put together by Boss Day Able.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Bolanle Margaret Ligali started the yam and plantain flour business in 2020. The same year COVID-19 struck and shut down the entire world.
We are into yam flour, which we call elubo bodo that we use for our amala. We also have plantain flour. Here is our plantain flour. We call it elubo gede. That time during the lockdown, cars were not able to move, especially interstate. It was difficult, but then because before the lockdown we had like a store whereby in fact that time I just thought, okay, why don't we bag like bags? We never knew lockdown was going to come, and that was a saving grace. And when we went out of stock, it was difficult.
Going by Bolanle's excitement, they believe that this venture is highly vibrant in Nigeria may not be far from the truth. Aside the revenues generated, these particular processed foods are staples that form part of most meals in Nigeria.
We don't get our own products from here in Abuja. Sometimes we go all the way to Ibadan. We go all the way to Lagos, to Abeokuta to get some of these raw materials.
Though an uneasy path to thread with bombs that were discouraging for her business aspiration, Bolanle says starting in the heat of COVID-19 pandemic, however, exposed her better to the food markets.
Actually, because during that time we found out that the food market, we needed to break even into the food market. People have been busy, they don't have time to do all these items themselves. So we decided, okay, let's do this part of this business whereby we can help women who are busy to actually make things easy, make cooking easy for them.
Like most entrepreneurs, finance is critical, and Bolanle is hopeful that the CBN intervention programs she has heard about can make a difference. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
Now, one of the challenges young people face globally is unemployment and underemployment. And so, Olayinka Ojo in this special report takes a look at government's efforts to make youth more productive for national development.
Emmanuel Ngene, before his graduation from school, began searching for white-collar jobs. And when his quest failed, he created one. He is now a manufacturer of leather shoes using locally sourced materials. He has joined the League of Entrepreneurs, providing solutions to unskilled laborers and also creating wealth.
Everybody can be an entrepreneur. You know, it's one industry I see, or one phase of life I see that can accommodate everybody. You know, everybody may not do agriculture. Everybody cannot work in the civil service. Everybody cannot make shoes, but we all can be entrepreneurs.
A recent data from the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that the rate of jobless youths has increased to 33.5% from 27.1%. This means that 1 in every 3 youths between 15 and 34 years that is able and willing to work is unemployed. It is to address this that the federal government introduced different programs, one of which is the Digital Skills Program for Youths, which guarantees socio-economic development, empowerment, and employability.
When you have tech platforms developed, you can easily track whoever, wherever, and see how they're doing, especially when it comes to being able to monitor and evaluate the success.
Recognizing the place of funding as access to startups poses a challenge, a 75 billion naira Nigerian Youth Investment Fund was set up. Being a government that believes in lifting millions of Nigerians out of poverty, a 4-year plan that will further achieve this was unveiled. It is the Nigerian Youth Employment Action Plan 2021 to 2024.
This is because youth inclusion is about skilled human capital, social and economic stability, a vibrant and healthy labor force, which will also engender political stability, national growth, and development.
And since many young people are looking for jobs, working but living in poverty or discouraged by the current realities in the labor market, the action plan is hinged on the successes of 4 pillars, which are employability, entrepreneurship, employment, equality, and rights. With the support of government, the NYSC Skills Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development Program over the years has been championing the crusade of self-reliance through training of core members in different skills sets.
Got the opportunity to learn fashion and designing in Mangu camp.
I was introduced to so many things when I was in camp: bag making, bead making, and tailoring. But in camp, I did bag making.
To further expand its impact as well as increase its success stories at complementing other government efforts, the NYSC says it plans to establish an NYSC Trust Fund.
If the NYSC Trust Fund, as we call it, is established, apart from running of the agency, funds, startup capital will be given to all the core members so that they can set up their businesses on the skills they have acquired.
For development partners, utilization of the plan and leveraging the opportunities provided will ensure the creation of more jobs for sustainable development.
And so we move the way to the commodities market. A 450-mile subsea cable which connects the UK and Norway, enabling them to share renewable energy, has started operations. In a statement, Britain's National Grid dubbed the 1.6 billion euro North Sea Link the world's longest subsea electricity interconnector. The North Sea Link is a joint venture with Norway's Statnett, the owner and operator of the country's power transmission network. The idea behind the North Sea Link is for it to harness Norway's hydropower and the UK's wind energy resources. According to National Grid, when Britain's wind production is high and demand for electricity is low, the system will facilitate exports to Norway. This will in turn help to conserve water in the latter's reservoir. Oil prices climbed on Tuesday, hitting their highest level in at least 3 years, extending gains triggered during the previous session after the world's major oil producers announced they had decided to keep a cap on crude supplies. Brent crude was up by 40 cents at $81.66 a barrel, having risen 2.5% on Monday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate oil rose 30 cents to $77.92 after gaining 2.3% the previous session. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its allies, including Russia, collectively known as OPEC Plus, said on Monday it would maintain an agreement to increase oil production, only gradually ignoring calls from the United States and India to boost output as the world economy recovers, if partially from the coronavirus pandemic. Now, stocks in Nigeria opened the week in the green and are positive this morning at 0.05%. Away from home, Japan's Nikkei 225 drops more than 2%, pairing losses after entering correction territory earlier.
European stocks are expected to open in positive territory on Tuesday, with regional investors brushing off losses on Wall Street on Monday. The UK's FTSE index is seen opening 20 points higher at 7,033, and Germany's DAX 41 points higher at 15,083. France's CAC 40 is set to trade 9 points higher at 6,491. Shares in Asia Pacific largely fell in Tuesday trade following overnight losses on Wall Street, with the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite falling more than 2%. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 dropped 2.19%. The Nikkei had dropped more than 3% and briefly entered correction territory, while Hang Seng Index was 0.16% high, and Shanghai Composite also added 0.9%. Stock futures were muted in overnight trading on Monday, following a tech-led sell-off as investors continued to dump high-flying shares in the face of rising rates. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 30 points. S&P 500 futures were little changed, while Nasdaq 100 futures traded in mildly positive territory. It's a mixed start for African markets. Namibia's overall index opened positive, posting 0.01%. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 started the day on a negative note, while figures are yet to come in from other markets. Boss Able, Business Express.
Thank you, Boss, and this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Wednesday at 3 p.m. I'm Leah Katung Baba Tunde. Keep thinking and doing business, and God bless Nigeria.